What's up, everybody? Welcome to week 7 of the NFL season. Cherry pickers are back here. I'm your host, Gary Altizer, here with Ryan Big Tree Oliver, here to give you our best bets, our system picks for the week. So we can get things. Let's just dive right into this. We've got a ton of picks this week. The system's got a bunch of picks for us. Ryan is here to talk to us a lot about the Steelers and what's going on there. So why don't we start with that game? The Jets are at Pittsburgh tonight in a night game. Whole bunch of things happening there. First and foremost is that Russell Wilson was named the starter for tonight. But I did read that they said Justin Fields will play. I think that was the plan all along. That one of the reasons that they brought him in is they wanted a package for him. I got Arthur Smith there. Arthur Smith did this in Tennessee when Ryan Tannehill was there. He was able to put a package together for the backup quarterback to get some running plays in, and he's going to do that with Fields 100%. Ryan, you're a lifelong Steelers fan. How do you feel about this move?
I kind of expected it, honestly. I mean, I feel like if you're a head coach and you have a quarterback who won a Super Bowl and you don't play him, but yet you struggle on offense, that's the kind of thing that would get a normal coach fired. Probably not Mike Tomlin, but that's kind of how I saw that. They pretty much maintained that he was the starter the entire season, and every time they were asked about it, maintained that he would be back. So when I heard that he was healthy, I mean, it only made sense that he would play this week.
Yeah,
Because of that, I'd probably stay away from that game, honestly.
yeah, we got to have 4 games of information from the quarterback anyway, so we will definitely be staying away from that game.
Yeah.
What do you think as a Steelers fan? What is the going to be the biggest difference we'll see on the field between Russell Wilson and Justin Fields?
Pre-snap. I think that one of the biggest problems that the Steelers have had with Justin Fields is pre-snap. He's, I think earlier on, the line did struggle, but in the last probably about 3 to 4 weeks, the line has been playing a lot better. But a lot of the pressures are coming from simulated pressures where they're getting a free rusher, and Justin's just not seeing that before the snap pretty much ever. I mean, I can't say ever, but not nearly enough, I guess, for what the Steelers want. And I mean, that's kind of where a lot of the sacks are coming from. I mean, normally people say, oh, well, the offensive line. Well, yeah, they do have injuries there, but there's also the aspect that the quarterback helps your line in situations. And I think that that's one of the main things that the Steelers have been missing pretty much since Ben Roethlisberger. And that's what I think they want to see from Russell Wilson.
Yeah, hey, the guy's been successful really every season of his career except for 2 years ago, his first year in Denver. Last year in Denver, he had a really good season going. They were
He
right
did.
around 500, when they benched him. He had, I think he was, I looked at the numbers. Had he played the full season, he would have thrown for around 4,000 yards, high 20s, touchdowns, 26, 28, and under 10 interceptions, and with like close to 70% completion percentage. That's a really good quarterback.
It is. I mean, it would definitely have been, you know, those numbers would have definitely changed the direction of the Steelers season. I mean, I know you can't just overlap things and say that's what it would be, but
Right.
I mean, when it's a guy who you've seen do that, and I mean, I understand that Pete Carroll was his coach primarily in Seattle, but he played for multiple coordinators, and every time you get a different coordinator, that's a completely different offense. Yeah, you're wearing the same colors. You might have the same head coach, but you have different terminology, you have different
Absolutely.
protections, and he's been through that, and he's succeeded there. And ultimately, outside of an offense that was pretty inept everywhere his first year there, and then we just saw that same offensive coordinator get demoted for pretty much having just as inept an offense. So you can't put that on him as much as you'd like to. You know what I mean? You'd have to probably go from the numbers he had last year. You'd have to take a
Right.
year out before out. I mean, you just have to. And then look at those numbers and you say, well,
Right.
those numbers are above league average, and mediocre quarterback play by Mason Rudolph had Steeler fans jumping out of their
Exactly. That's a great point.
seats.
That's such a
You
good point to
know,
make. That Steelers team is made on, defense and not turning the ball over and, just really winning old school kind of games. And if they could get Russell Wilson to play anywhere close to what he played last year, I think the Steelers are going to really be a contender. A lot of people are really upset about the move, but I get it. Fields hasn't necessarily done anything wrong, but you can't throw 27, 28 times a game for 150 yards or less and get anywhere. I mean, if you guys, if Steeler fans want to go 9-8 every year, I guess this would be fine. But if you're the Pittsburgh front office, you've got to at least try this out. At the very least, you have to see what
well,
happens.
you have to see what it looks like. I mean, like I said, Tomlin, those guys aren't going to get fired. But and any other coach, if you've got a guy who's won a Super Bowl and had at several different times of his career been mentioned at Hall of Fame conversations, which he has, you would lose your job if you don't basically win the Super Bowl if you don't and not play him all season. You would lose
Right.
your job. And so I mean, I saw it all along. I think that a lot of people get caught up in the story, and there was a lot of stories people trying to say, oh well, Russell Wilson's not it hurt, or that Tomlin was saying something different. You have to take him at his word. I mean, the dude got hurt in camp. Uh, Fields played good. He didn't play great, but at certain times, but he played pretty well. And then
Right.
the worst game was the Dallas game, I'd say. Not even the whole game, just kind of how it ended.
Right.
And then they didn't just yank him
Right.
and rush Russell Wilson back. They actually gave him another week to play, which probably was really more at this point. You have to imagine another week for Russell to get healthy.
Right.
I mean, that's what they said, and I think other people tried to make it a story, but they never said anything different.
No, they didn't. And hey, a guy like Wilson, that kind of an injury, the calf, that's kind of one that would linger. And as a quarterback, if you can't plant when you throw, that's tough. If you're pulling up when you're trying to plant because it hurts, you're not going to get everything into your throws.
And if you have a guy like Justin Fields and you don't have to feel like you're rushing back, it's not like he was horrible last season. I mean, he finished the last season strong, Fields, but when he came in, it was pretty much the pecking order was Russell then him.
Yeah.
But I don't think they ruled out him playing. So you don't rush back when you have a guy that could have been playing anyway. So I think that you just take the time with it and you let him heal. Russell Fields didn't do anything crazy. Obviously, I don't think he was going to, but whatever. Some people did.
Yeah, exactly. And, I think Steeler fans aren't really familiar with Wilson. He played in the NFC for almost all of his career. As a 49ers fan, I watched a ton of Russell Wilson over his career. One of the things that they loved about him when he was drafted and he was made the starter, they had just signed a free agent backup from the Packers that everybody was, expecting to be the starter. And Pete Carroll was I can remember watching the press conferences, and he's like, he's our guy. And he was getting really pressed from the press. What are you just signed a guy, you're going to have a 3rd-round rookie in there. And he said, look, he's the best guy. They said he memorized a playbook in 2 weeks. To do that with an NFL playbook, we talked about Deshaun Watson and the problems he has with playbooks. He's got it up here. The only thing I will say is he made a lot of his money running around in the pocket, buying time and throwing deep. And Steeler fans, you're going to see a lot of sacks. You're going to see a lot of sacks, but you're going to see a lot of downfield plays probably too.
Well, the thing that, like I said when we talked last week, the big thing for Pittsburgh is going to be the response he gets from the other skill players.
Yeah.
Like, is he making those guys better? because that was the other thing with Fields. I think a lot of the offense, when you have a guy like him, becomes about him. So a defense is scheming, they're going to be scheming to keep him in the pocket or keep him from running. You know what I mean? That's going to affect everything. That's going to affect where the ball goes when he does throw it. It's going to affect what the wide receivers are going to be asked to do, the offensive line. If Russell Wilson comes in and what he was doing last year, that was, I thought, some of the more impressive stuff that I've seen him do, is he was getting the ball out quick last year.
Mhm.
You know, he had some games where he had those crazy sacks, you know, and their defense was really bad a couple times throughout the year. So like he was getting into like early shootouts. So like some of those games, but like in the games where he played really well, he didn't take those sacks. And like he would
Right.
have 6 sacks in a game, but like 320 yards, and you'd be talking about how good he was.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You know, Sean Payton, I think that Sean Payton is just one of those guys that um, he wants a guy to run his offense the way he wants it run.
Yeah.
And, you know, he had Drew Brees for all those years, drops back, gets rid of the ball quickly, you know, looks for every outlet that he can. Wilson doesn't play his game like that. I think he was trying to, and I think he adjusted. But I also think there was a big personality clash there, too. Russell Wilson has a team of people around him.
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah.
even call Russell Wilson. You have to call somebody he works for.
Well,
And
there's also some things that I think that go overlooked, man. I think like a lot of things that happen in those type of conversations that get overlooked is the actual interpersonal relationship between the
yeah,
people. You know, when you think about certain guys, there's certain guys that like you don't necessarily coach them as much as you guide them. Like a Patrick Mahomes, you know,
yes,
you just you know that he's going to go out there and paint a masterpiece. So when you're standing on the sideline, you say, "Here, use this brush." You know what I mean? And when you use it, do your stroke like this. And you know what I mean? And
right,
you're just guiding a guy like that. But then you have the guys like Tom Brady. Tom Brady wasn't that at all. Tom Brady was going to do exactly what you tell him to do. He's going to buy in. He's going to be the first person there at practice every day. The first person who's not, he's going to take the chew out. And so that people on the team say, "Oh well, Tom Brady's getting chewed out. Anybody can get it," but that's his role, you know. And he understood that. And then he was going to, you know, be that same guy on the field directly representing management. You know
right.
what I mean? Like, and he was going to take that same role that Belichick or even like Lloyd Carr, it was the same for him at Michigan. That's why Belichick wanted him, because he's like, "Oh, this guy's going to execute at the highest level. He's going to expect that from the people, you know." And like, there's certain guys that are, you know what I mean? And Drew Brees was more Brady with a pinch of that creative type, you know what I mean? A little bit more but he was more that I'm going to execute. Sean knows best. I know and I believe in this. If you don't, get out of my huddle.
Yeah, like you said, it's
And
this. A
those
lot
guys,
of people, watching this, and most people at home when they think of coaching, they think of coaching high school, maybe some college. Man, when you get to the NFL, the coaching is different. You're not taking somebody under your wings and molding and shaping them into a man.
man,
You're just like you said, guiding. You have an overall vision, getting the right people in the right place to be your assistant
yeah,
coaches, and making sure they are following the vision, making the big decisions, tweaking little things here and there. But you're not teaching them how to be football players. You might be teaching them how to clean little things up, but they're grown men. They're millionaires. It's a lot different than it is in the high school or college
and
realm.
if they can't do it, there's somebody else.
Goodbye.
Like,
Somebody else will. Yesterday,
yeah.
somebody will do
So
it.
it is the purest example of sink or swim. If
Yep.
you're only going to get, so I mean, these guys are top level quarterbacks know how many reps they're going to take per season.
Right. Right.
They know exactly how many reps they need in the
Yep.
off season. I mean, they like, this shit is science. I mean, it's not.
Exactly.
And
Is
so
it is.
if your guy is not doing that on his own, you're not going to tell him to. You're going to find the next guy who is.
Right.
And I think whatever the relationship, to bring it back to Russell Wilson and then damn
Fields,
Sean Payton, to
yeah.
bring it back to that's where I think it didn't work, because Russell Wilson, I think, is that guy, but Russell's that guy who is going to take all those orders, but he's going to say, but coach, what about, and I don't think Sean Payton's got time for what about. It's like, this is the way.
Yeah.
And we even saw that last week with him and Bo Nix, or was that 2 weeks ago? They had that kind of shouting back and forth.
Yeah. Bo Nix said, they asked what he said. Bo Nix said he told me he loved me. That's a smart answer right there. That's a smart answer.
Smart answer. It was.
So we'll see what happens in Pittsburgh tonight. Pittsburgh is the underdog. They're getting 2.5 points. With Justin Fields, the system said Pittsburgh was the pick there. With Russell Wilson, we don't know, so we don't have a pick. If I was betting on this game, just me taking a pick, I would take Pittsburgh with the points. It's a night game, and it's in Pittsburgh. Of course, we know what happened in New York this week. Davante Adams was signed. That's a huge signing there. Aaron Rodgers went to the Jets, and you've seen all these old Packers getting signed. And I think a lot of people were scratching their head. These guys are past their prime, blah, blah, blah. If you watch the Jets this season, you'll see why. Allen Lazard is the only guy that really knows where Rodgers puts the ball. He puts the ball in these funny spots. And when I say funny, it's just different than other quarterbacks, because he'll put them in places that only if you've had time with him, you'll know where they are. And they're not in places to get picked off, because he doesn't throw a lot of interceptions. And you've seen him throwing picks this year, and it's almost always to the guys other than Lazard. So getting somebody like Adams, and not only is Adams an amazing talent, but he has chemistry. I bet Aaron Rodgers could throw with his eyes closed and know exactly where Adams is going to be. That's invaluable. If they want a chance, they got to get somebody in there to really be his go-to.
Well, yeah, we've seen them be successful behind pretty bad offensive lines before.
Yeah.
Had I not seen that, I might say that that's like one of those, what will this look like? But they actually pretty much played most of their career behind bad offensive lines. And with that being the case, because I mean, personally, I think that that's going to be the Achilles heel for the Jets. Is their line just is not.
They've got some nice names on that line, but they're not.
That's why I said. That's why I said
playing.
gelling. It's like, sometimes they play okay, and then sometimes it's like people don't know what they're doing. We could chalk that up to some of that could be Nathaniel Hackett.
Yeah,
we already talked about him earlier.
Yeah,
he's Matt Canada level bad.
Well, I think Rodgers is probably going to be calling most of the plays now. He's probably going to be doing what he wants. So. But no pick on that one. We're going to get straight into the system picks now. Before we get started, remember 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-GAMBLER is there for you for all the information and resources you need if you feel like you have a problem. Why don't we start with the Cleveland Browns? The Browns are home playing the Cincinnati Bengals, and they're 5.5-point underdogs. The system likes Cleveland plus 5.5. Last week, the system liked Cleveland, and we were both kind of shaky on it. We took it. They covered against Philly. They did get a block kick for a touchdown that helped do that. Cleveland's not playing great right now. Cincinnati's defense is not playing great right now. And Cincinnati, for some reason, always has trouble with Stefanski. I mean, there's not much really to say. I don't think anything's really changed with either team the last few weeks. They kind of are who they are. Cincinnati should have a couple more wins. They've absolutely blown a couple games. They really should have, at minimum, 2 more wins right now. They should be 4-2 and not 2-4. Cleveland, I don't know. We've talked about them.
I'm gonna take that one only because Cleveland always beats Cincinnati.
Yeah,
the system says it, and it's Cleveland, Cincinnati. I just feel like that's good. So,
I mean, Burrow's playing out of his mind right now. Don't get me wrong; he could light them up easy.
He can, but they've played worse. They've had been playing worse than they are this season and beaten a better Cincinnati team. So
yes, you're right.
if the system likes it, I always take that one. I just have to.
Yeah, we'll
Too
see
much
what
evidence.
happens.
We'll see.
Deshaun
We'll see.
Watson's not playing any better. It's not going to get any better. We talked about this till we're blue in the face. He has trouble. You know, it's starting to come out now. Everybody's talking about how in Houston he had a lot of trouble with the NFL playbook. Bill O'Brien brought in his college playbook. And another thing is, remember, we were just talking about college coaches and pro coaches, how they're different. Bill O'Brien came from Penn State and knew how to kind of mold a young guy or get him into a spot. Stefanski's not that guy. Stefanski is not taking you under his wing and babying you, giving you the offense that you need, letting him every play in practice to make sure you're doing a good job. That's not what Stefanski wants.
Well, they ran Baker Mayfield out of town for that.
Yeah.
They said he was immature, ran him out of town. And now this.
So we'll see. We do like Cleveland getting 5.5 points, so that'll be the first pick that we'll take. Let's go to this. This is a big game here. Jamie Rogers is watching. He says Vikings for the win. A huge game here. Detroit at Minnesota. That NFC North is, man, what a division that is this season. Minnesota, a 1-point favorite. Minnesota -1. System likes the favorite in this one. Minnesota -1 with Detroit coming in. Huge game. Absolutely huge game. Not only now for the playoffs. Minnesota's playing the best ball that I've seen them play in a long time.
Left down spot for Detroit.
Yeah.
After that big, I mean, they put it on Dallas, but that's also because they lost that controversial game.
Yeah.
And they are a big emotional roller coaster. They ride the emotions of their head coach, which is, it's great because it's like what they're built on and why they're good. But this is a great letdown spot for them. That's a really good team.
They can get up for anybody, but they can play down too. Last year, they played the Ravens in a game where they were absolutely whooped up and down the field for the entire game. It was one of the ugliest games I've seen in a long time. And that Detroit team was a couple plays away from being in the Super Bowl. You're right. They're up and down. Vikings, I believe, were off last week. They've got something really good happening there. Their defensive side of the ball is playing out, lights out. Their defensive coordinator might be the coordinator of the year, if you ask me, the way that he's coaching right now. Their offensive line is playing. You know, you like Sam Darnold, what he's done so far this year. They got the best receiver in the NFL. I like this pick with Minnesota -1. Plus, Detroit lost their best player.
My bad. I wasn't trying to talk over you. You know how I always bring up Carolina. They had Darnold and Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's my favorite thing of this year.
Yeah.
Every time I heard Sam Darnold, I think about that. But yeah, the Vikings are like, they're tailor-made that for the quarterback to not be the pivotal thing. I mean, obviously the quarterback's always going to be the most important player on the offense, but like they've kind of got it to where the quarterback is just plug and play. And I think that they don't need to be emotional. They just are really kind of fundamentally good everywhere. And man, when I think about Brian Flores, who was a coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I don't hate Terrell Austin at all. I think he's actually a really good coordinator, but to think they had him.
I know. I don't understand why they didn't make the move for him. He could be a great, assistant head coach too. You know, if anything happened to Tomlin, he could have been the guy to go to. Then maybe he got more money to go to Minnesota. I don't know, or probably more control.
Well, the Steelers the Steelers had literally just hired Terrell Austin, who's, like I said, doing a really good job. I really love what he does with the secondary. He's probably not as creative with the blitz packages as some of the past Steelers guys are, but their secondary plays so much better. So it's not like I think he's doing a bad job. I don't want to put that out there, but man, Flores.
Yeah, he's doing an amazing job. The only thing
the best defensive coordinator
in the NFL, absolutely. The only thing that gives me a little pause here is Sam Darnold has gotten away with some really bad throws that have been dropped, or there have been penalties called on the defense. And Sam Darnold is great when he knows what's coming. The scripted plays. Watch Minnesota, the first 10 or 15 plays of the game. Darnold is almost like, wow, who is this guy? And then after that, he kind of gets shaky because they've been practicing those scripted plays all week. He knows what's coming. He knows what to expect. He knows where he should be going.
But that's the thing, though. That's what Minnesota wants to do, and that's why it's like such a great matchup for the two to come together, Darnold and Minnesota, because they don't ever want to get off script. They want to just stick. And so that's why it works. Again, I think that's why I kind of like that against Detroit. I think Detroit is a team. I don't think they need extra motivation. But they had a horrible injury last week.
Oh man.
Bro, I had to wear this because they lost, and everybody said I wasn't repping for my team because they weren't good this year. So.
Yeah, Aiden Hutchinson, that was a nasty injury. Injury last week, and that was the heartbeat of that defense. That defense really, outside of him, they've got a couple guys, but nothing major guys.
He's the heart and soul, and man, I meant to say that when I was first bringing up why I thought this game, because Aiden, I just remember him how he was at Michigan. If that would have happened at Michigan, they right. And I that carries over. He came and he brought that same energy to the Lions. He drove right up the road. The same people in the stands cheering for him.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I just know that's what it is. So that's good. That's going to hurt them too. Well, I don't think.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say I don't think it's going to necessarily derail their entire season, but it's going to hurt them too.
Yeah, it's going to hurt. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. Everybody keeps saying they're going to trade for Max Crosby or one of these high-end defenders. I mean, nobody. I don't know. I don't know any team that's going to give up a top 5 defensive end pass rusher. You'd have to throw literally everything at them unless they think they're losing him anyways at the end of the season. I don't see anybody doing that. I really don't.
I don't either. You already know how I feel about that. If you have that pass rusher that can also play defense, that's the most important. That's the second most important player on your team. Yeah. Straight up.
Yeah, so that's a second pick, Minnesota -1. All right, the next game, I don't feel great about this one. The Eagles are a 3-point favorite at the New York Giants. The system likes the Eagles -3. I don't feel great about that one. Philly seems like they're holding off an implosion. Nick Sirianni arguing with Philly fans last week. He came in, I've seen somebody compare Nick Sirianni to the Britney Spears meltdown when she shaved her head and now he's losing it. I don't know if it's that bad, but there's something going on there. Sirianni could be gone. I mean, he could be fired this season after winning the Super Bowl a couple years ago.
He could be, but it's also Philly, and like they hate themselves in Philadelphia.
They don't like anything. They're never happy.
Yeah, so I feel like if he wins this week, they'll just take it in stride. I mean, somebody would swear at you like that on the street. That's just how you communicate in Philadelphia.
And he was just getting back the energy he got. So,
I think that the outside media caught wind of it, and they're gonna. I mean, there were people in Philly that were obviously complaining about it, but again, those people would be complaining about something.
Yeah. I mean, this is a stadium. I remember one time at an Eagles game, Santa Claus was on. They put him on the screen. I think it was Monday Night Football, and the whole stadium booed Santa Claus. Who does that? Who boos Santa Claus?
Philadelphia, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. They have a courtroom in their stadium. Or I don't know if this is true still. I know they used to have a courtroom in their stadium because so many people got arrested.
They had to have their own judge assigned to
the stadium. I don't think he was ruling over cases, but he was arraigning people. This guy, he really beats someone up. He goes to jail. He gets a fine. He gets to pay ball and go home. I think that's what he did. But yeah, they had it's Pennsylvania, so I think it was a magistrate actually, not a judge. But yeah, somebody was in there.
Somebody was in there. Well,
writing bonds.
Giants last week, we liked them getting points against Cincinnati, but they just could not get anything going on offense. They played crap. They didn't have their best offensive player out there. Dexter Lawrence, he's banged up. He's questionable for today. I don't know if he's playing or not. He's probably the best interior defensive lineman in the NFL right now. The system likes Philly. We're going to roll with it. I don't feel great, especially at New York, at MetLife. But we're going to go with it. I don't want to trust my heart. I want to trust numbers more. So that's the third pick.
I trust them. I think Philly. Well, like I don't think Sirianni's a bad coach. I just think he's a douchebag. So like it probably might be a bounce back for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's a real. Like realistically, it should be that for him. Like he's not in Philly. He doesn't have to worry about his own fans booing him.
Right. Gosh, that reminds me of Alex Smith. He always said he played better away because he didn't have to have the pressure of the 49ers fans when he had Mike Singletary as a coach.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So that could be the case. All right, we're going to head now to Atlanta. Atlanta is at home taking on Seattle. Atlanta's a 3-point favorite. And the system likes Seattle getting 3 here. These two teams are pretty closely matched. Atlanta's got some wins this year that really have kind of pulled out of their butt. I mean,
Seattle the other way, and Seattle the other way.
Yeah.
Seattle has some losses that really they outplayed their opponent. It just
didn't work out. Yeah. I guess it just depends kind of what Seahawks team you get. You and I were talking last week where I watched a game, the 49ers, I think it was the 49ers and Seahawks were playing, and Geno Smith was yelling at his receivers, like, what the F are you all doing? Like, they're running the wrong routes, and when your quarterback's yelling at you, what are you doing? Something's off in the offense there. They got Walker's playing. He's healthy. That's a huge boost to those guys.
If they give him the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, like, for some reason, they favor Charbonnet, and I don't.
Yeah,
I don't. I think Charbonnet's good. I don't think he's a bad running back, but when you have a guy like Kenneth Walker, you've got to give him more touches. And I saw a couple games where Charbonnet outtouched him. Maybe because they were passing, it seems like they like him more in the passing game. I didn't watch the game. I just looked at the stats. But it just seems like they're feeding Charbonnet more. But
he does. He gets a lot. It doesn't seem like he makes a lot happen. I don't know if it's who knows. It's a practice thing. Maybe he's the guy in practice, and maybe he knows how to pick up blocks.
He had the more fanfare in college. I mean, Charbonnet transferred from Michigan to UCLA and was a big splash player at UCLA. But there's a reason he transferred from Michigan, so maybe I'm biased. But I should probably be that way about Kenneth Walker III because he's the one that ran all over him. But I don't know. I just think Walker's better and should get more touches.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. One thing to watch will be the interior of the Falcons' offensive line. They've got some really good blockers there, and that Seattle front. Seattle's not good against the run. Bijan Robinson, that could be a guy if you want to go make some player prop bets today. Go look at what Bijan's numbers are today. I don't know what I didn't look, but that could be one.
Gibbs.
Yeah,
Him and Gibbs, man, that's the future of running back. The Saquon was like the early version. They're like the 2.0. But man, them guys, amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah, so it likes Seattle getting 3 there. That's the 4th game. The next game heading into Green Bay. The Packers are 3-point favorites against the Houston Texans. The system likes Houston getting 3. I see these two teams pretty close, but Nico Collins is out for Houston, and that is a huge loss. That makes me really not even want to put this pick up because he means so much to that offense. But they've got to learn to play without him and learn to go to these other guys instead. Green Bay, they're a good team, man. I'll tell you what, that coaching staff, their head coach, he's the real deal. I think that guy – I used to think it's just Rodgers. But Rodgers won 2 MVPs under the guy and played way better.
LaFleur is legit.
He's the truth, man. He really is.
And I'll
He
tell
is.
you, of all the guys that came, I mean, I always tell you this because the Shanahan guys, but of all the guys that come out of the Shanahan system, like barring Kyle himself, uh, LaFleur and damn, I just forgot his name from
Sean
Minnesota.
Payton.
No, Minnesota.
Oh, yeah.
Those two, man, like it seems like anybody who plays quarterback in Minnesota is good. Like if you really look at like you said about Sam Darnold, I mean, I told you I thought if JJ McCarthy would have not gotten hurt and ended up playing, he would have been rookie of the year under that system. I
That would have
really do.
Yeah, that would have been something. I mean, if they're doing this well with Darnold, who knows? But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out there. Yeah, the system likes Houston. I feel like this is another shaky one, but we're going to stick with it. They're playing really good football this year. Green Bay's
It's hard for me to
good.
go get. I I like the spread. I just think I still think Green Bay will win the game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I could see Green Bay winning by 10 points, honestly.
Yeah. I just they're just I love Houston's team and CJ Stroud. As much as I hated him at Ohio State, I love him at NFL. I talk about that kid every week. I love him, man. He is just more like I think he's better than Love, but like if it was Love who was missing his best wide receiver, I'd feel much better the other way. I don't know that CJ has really not had Nico. You know what I mean? That's why it's like I agree with you.
Yeah, that'll be a one I'll be watching close. We got 3 more games here. Let's head to Tampa. This will be a big game here as the Buccaneers host the Ravens. The Ravens are 3.5-point favorites. The system likes Tampa getting 3.5. Big game for Tampa. They seem to play up when they need to. Baltimore, Baltimore's Baltimore. They're just playing hard-nosed football. They've got the best running game in the NFL. Tampa's sneaky. They can play, they can beat great teams. They beat Detroit and they beat them kind of comfortably this year.
Tampa had 5 turnovers last week and won.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Enough said about that. Baker Mayfield had 4 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. They won, like convincingly.
Right. I mean, and they lost to Atlanta in a game that they had big time control of, and it just got away from them. They lost in overtime. And then their other loss was to Denver, where Denver come in, and I think that Denver defense is underrated. And Bo Nix was just starting to get the hang of that offense, and they had a good offense.
That was early. They Mayweather
2 or 3, yeah.
They Mayweather Nix. They got him early.
Right, exactly. So, system likes Tampa getting 3.5. Baltimore, heck, they could be the best team in the NFL the way they're playing right now. Who knows? But I still think Tampa's going to be up for this game.
I was going to say, I think their secondary is a bad matchup. I mean, they don't do well against really great big wide receivers, and Tampa Bay has the biggest and the baddest.
Yeah, they got some.
That's why you can throw 3 interceptions and still have 4 touchdowns.
Right.
Because the biggest, baddest dudes out there. And I think they have a field day with Baltimore's defense.
Yeah. Okay, the next game here, we'll head to Arizona as the Cardinals host the Chargers. The Chargers are 2-point favorites. The system likes LA -2. If the Chargers are healthy, I think they could control the line of scrimmage here. I think they could run the ball, which is what Harbaugh wants to do. Their offensive line is healthy as far as I know. Arizona up and down. If their offense is clicking, if their quarterback's playing well, they could play with a lot of teams. And if it's not, then they don't. I don't know what to say about this game.
It's hard for me too. They had the Chargers had a lot of problems with Fields' mobility.
Yeah,
he was able to get loose on him a lot, and Kyler's probably faster and a little bit
probably
more
quicker.
And I think they struggle. I think they struggle there. They don't really have a whole lot of speed on their defense. I mean, and their edge guy. I mean, his last name might be the same, but he's the lesser best.
Yeah. He's not the same guy we've seen in the past. He just doesn't look like the same guy.
He's also really, really one-dimensional.
Right.
He's elite in the pass rush, but he can't do much else.
Yeah.
And he takes bad angles, and Fields is able to step up and then take off on him a couple times. And Kyler Murray is a way better. I mean, I don't know about who's faster, but Kyler Murray is just that immediate burst of speed in the pocket. I think they really struggle to contain him
He's
today.
just quick. Murray's so quick.
It-
To get
and
from
his
point A to point B, he's there. He maybe not in 100-yard
in his
sprint.
mind too, because he's decisive, and when he decides to run, it is now, and he is gone. And that happened to them with Fields, and I have to think that that's the same. What's he asking? Harrison out? I'm not sure, Jamie.
Yeah, Marvin Harrison. He's been, I don't know, he's been off and on the injury list as far as I know.
Yeah, I honestly, dude, I'd probably go to game time with him because it's been conflicting.
It's confirmed Saturday that he's able to clear concussion protocol, which will make him available for the Cardinals. So it
See,
looks
I
like,
saw that. I didn't see, but he was still listed as questionable. So that's why I didn't have an answer for that.
yeah, it looks like he's going to play. Okay, head to the last game, probably the biggest game of the week in the NFL, is just as far as people watching as far as the Sunday games go. The Chiefs head to San Francisco. San Francisco is a 2-point favorite. The system likes the Chiefs getting 2. I have to agree. Just 49ers are not healthy, and Kansas City getting points. There's only been 13 games in Patrick Mahomes' career where he was an underdog. He's 11-1-1 in those games against the spread. So it's tough to not take Kansas City getting points, even though they are on the road. They just seem to have San Francisco's number, even in a tight game like the Super Bowl that went to overtime, where San Francisco gave up points because of a fumbled punt inside their own 20. I still don't feel great playing this Kansas City team. And Chris Jones, I think, is going to really wreck the interior of that 49ers line. Our 49ers center is not that good. He's not very good. And Chris Jones could get a push on those guys.
It's going to come down to you guys' tight ends. I think that the tight end game is where they're better against Kansas City's defense. Like both of San Francisco's tight ends should be able to have a lot of success against their linebackers in the pass game. Chris Jones is really good in the pass rush, but if you make him play coverage, if you know what I mean, at times, or if you can at least beat him with, you know what I mean, with the ball, I think that's what they did. Well, at least Baltimore did that with Isaiah Likely. You know what I mean? And I just think that if Baltimore would have been at where they are now with their relationship with giving Derrick Henry the ball, they would have won that game, and it wouldn't even probably have been close. I mean, so the two things that Baltimore did, I think that's where the attack's going to come from the 49ers. And I don't know. I don't know about that game. I probably like Kansas City, but I wouldn't sleep on San Francisco. They're good at everything that seems to be problems for Baltimore.
Well,
not Baltimore. I'm sorry, Kansas City.
Yeah, I'm checking out the injury report here. So obviously Pacheco and Rashee Rice is out. They've got an edge defender here out. Schuster is questionable. That looks like about it. They're pretty healthy. Geez, the 49ers injury list here, Juwan Jennings, he's not playing today. But
they do have a laundry list.
Yeah, Javon Hargraves is out, obviously. Hufanga is on the IR. Givens is questionable. There's another edge defender that's out. Christian McCaffrey's still not back, obviously. But I will say Jordan Mason's good. He sprained his shoulder last week. He's good to know. That's a huge relief there. But there is a silver lining to all of those injuries today for the 49ers. Ricky Pearsall, the rookie who suffered a gunshot wound in August.
He's coming back. Nice.
He's playing today. Yes.
Nice.
So he got cleared to practice today. He was on the IR. He had to stay out at least 4 weeks. They kept him out 6. Thank God he got shot by a 17-year-old kid in San Francisco who wanted to steal his watch. And it went through somewhere the lower chest, upper stomach area and didn't hit any organs. Thank God it went in one side, out the other. They kept him out of practice. From what the coaches were saying, he's been crawling out of the skin to get back in there because he's okay. But you can't rush something like that. Dude, you got shot, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, you got
chill.
shot. And you're young.
He's a rookie, though, but still.
Yeah.
You got to chill, bro. Yeah, chill. Like, you got plenty more games. You only got one life. Like, let's get this right, buddy.
Yeah, there's plenty
I
of
get
time.
it.
But this is
he's coming back, though, because, like, when somebody gets shot, I mean, I'm sure it'll be a big story, but it's just for when game time.
Right.
But
yeah, I mean, and with Jennings out, he's probably going to fill that third wide receiver role now. And I can guarantee you that Kyle Shanahan's going to have some kind of package, some Ricky Pearsall package in there to see what the guy can do. He's good at the catch point. He's good at contested catches. And you love CJ Stroud. During the draft, Stroud was on live somewhere. I don't know who it was, ESPN or what. And when the 49ers picked him up, they said Ricky Pearsall, and the blood drained from Stroud's face.
Oh,
he
yeah.
said,
He was talking about the whole draft. He wanted
he said, man, I love that guy. When we were going to get him, we had him. You hear quarterbacks talk about the guy like that. I think that, he's probably going to bring something to this 49ers offense.
Yeah, finally getting to play. That's just a big thing, man. I'm happy to hear that for that kid. That sucks, man. Like the greatest time of your life, and you make it. I don't know if he's from the hood or wherever. You make it out of where you're from, good or bad, to the big city, to the bright lights, and you get shot by a 17-year-old kid. That sucks, man. That was really, honestly, a horrifying story. Honestly, I'm chuckling, but that's horrifying. That's terrifying.
Yeah, the kid that shot him is getting shot as an adult in California.
Sad, because who knows that kid's life? Like, that's a whole other list of things to talk about.
Yeah, that's not us. That's not for us. But
who knows? Who knows, man? But that's really. I'm glad to hear that kid's coming back to play football. Definitely.
I don't know too many NFL players that were shot and came back to play.
Joey Porter. He played a week later, but he got shot in the ass. In Colorado.
I don't even remember that one. That's one.
Yeah, Joey Porter. He was went back for some kind of college thing, and he got shot. And he played a week later, and then they were going to the playoffs. And
Plaxico Burress shot himself.
Plaxico Burress shot himself and went to prison for it. And then he did come back in the league for a year or two after that.
But Joey Porter's happened in 1 week. He got shot at an event and he came back and then had to go to Denver for a playoff game. And it's famous, man. If you get a chance, look it up. He's he was in the locker room. And it was real quiet. He was like, man, we got to go to Denver. Man, they shot me in Denver.
I don't remember that. I
don't
have any recollection.
Crazy. Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, Joey Porter. But he went to Denver. That's where he went to, Colorado College. That's what college.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. So, System likes Kansas City Chiefs getting 2 points there at San Francisco in a Super Bowl rematch. Recap real quick: Chargers -2, Buccaneers +3.5, Minnesota -1, the Browns getting 5.5. Houston getting 3 in Green Bay, Seattle getting 3 in Atlanta, and Philly -3 at the New York Giants. Let's hope things work out for us this week. Don't bet more than you can afford to lose. Just have fun with it. This is a fun time for us. There's 2 other games: Tennessee at Buffalo. Tennessee getting 9.5, and Carolina at Washington. Carolina getting 9.5. Both of them getting 9.5. We're not touching those teams. We're not touching those games. You've got a pick 6 artist in Tennessee, Will Levis. We went with them the first 2 weeks of the season when I was just making my picks. Should have covered both games, but he threw a pick 6 in both games and we lost him. I said I was done. I'm not betting on them anymore. Carolina, this Washington team is the kind of team that's built to lay it on a team like Carolina. I'm not messing with that. Washington has been so much fun to watch. I think that their offense is probably going to light them up. And Will Levis is out anyway, I guess. So we can't bet on them. I didn't even look into that game. So
Will Levis threw one of the most incredible interceptions. He was upside down in the air and threw an interception. That was one of the most incredible interceptions I've ever seen.
Yeah. So we're not going to touch that anyways. In Carolina, I mean, Andy Dalton was a nice story. They won the first start with him. Since then, he's put some points on the board, but I don't know what it is at teams. The weird thing is the best pass blocking offensive line in the NFL is in Carolina. I'm
That's
not
crazy.
kidding. By the numbers, the percentages, they have blocked better than anybody else. And Carolina still can't keep themselves
They should
in
have kept
games.
Darnold or Baker. They had them both.
Hey,
Ran them
Baker
guys
went
out
and
of
signed a
town.
$100 million contract and then went to lifting after that
Yeah.
team. I can't blame him for that. So, but that'll do it for
So,
us.
That's pretty crazy to see that.
Yes, it is. This is
I
week.
saw at one point they were both sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead. That's week 7 for us here on the Cherry Pickers. We hope you guys had a good time as we talked about this.
It's bad.
1-800-GAMBLER is there for you. Also, one last thing, Chicago and Dallas is on buys. That's why we didn't talk about those games. So we will see you next time here next week here at noon on YSN. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you guys coming here every week. We appreciate the numbers. The numbers have been great here for us, and we hope to see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.
YSN thanks you for watching this presentation of Your Sports Network. For stories, stats,